come now. Any advice for black people coming to China? Come now. Just buy the ticket. Just get on the plane and just come right now, because
welcome to the Melanated Files. In this series, we highlight and share the stories of black people from across the globe. Remember to subscribe to this channel for weekly videos and also follow us on social media for regular updates. Let's get into the interview. Hey, what's up? So this is another episode of the Melanated Files. We are in Shanghai, and I really wanted to give David from Wow Cafe in Shanghai a little attention for this dope spot. And the man is a coffee scientist. So I just wanted to show you guys this spot really quickly. And if you're ever in Shanghai and you want some coffee and know the history, the story, the science behind that expert brew, this is a man. Say hi, David.
Hello, everybody.
My name is DeShawn Peterson. I am from the U.S., born and bred, Detroit, Michigan.
All right, and why China?
I came to China about 5 years ago. I have a good friend, Faye. We used to intern together in Chicago. She's Chinese. And a while ago, I was just unhappy with my work. I felt the glass ceiling. And one day we just met at a coffee shop. And she just put the idea in my head, like, maybe we should go to China, travel for a little bit and come back. And maybe we could put some ideas together. I can get you a job at my house, at where she was working at the time. And I bought a one-way ticket. I was really just coming here to just teach English for a year, study Chinese for maybe like a semester or two. And I enjoyed it so much that I just never went back. I am a financial planner during the day, and I am a personal trainer at night. So my mantra right now is finance and fitness. I've been here about 5 years. So it'll be 5 years, November 19th.
All right, so what are your ambitions for life in China?
Well, right now, my ambition, I think they change year over year. I think the first few years, you really just want to discover, travel, see the mainland, meet the people. I think the middle is really about just getting your footing right, and just seeing like, is this a long-term move? But right now, I just say, as I've been here a little longer and more, I'm just now finding myself getting comfortable being here. My ambitions now are really just moving forward with starting my own company and going back to school to really become a lot more proficient in speaking Mandarin.
What do you like the most about Shanghai?
Shanghai is like everything, honestly. It's like, how can I say? I try to put it in simple terms. Shanghai is like, every day is a new day. It's a fresh day. You can wake up with the plans of doing something, and you can have a nice, legitimate plan, but if you wake up with one idea, by the time you go to bed that day, it can be a completely different day. So I just think with Shanghai, when we think of China, and we hear the news about this economic growth and all of this, influence and growth and wealth and etc. I think Shanghai is really just the center of it. So we're actually seeing like a very rich history, a very rich culture advance to the future. So you can see every day buildings going up, buildings coming down, new people from different countries, different nationalities. And I really try to say, like, in this century, we're really living in the center of the world right now.
All right, so what about China itself? What do you like the most about China?
What do I like about it?
Yes.
What do I really like the most about it? I like it's just so different than American culture. I think it really opens your eyes from a perspective of, how can you say, just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong, and you might find yourself enjoying different things. So it kind of puts me in a mind frame to be a lot more objective about just the way I was raised, but also just the way other people live. So I think it really just helps me become a lot more, I feel like I'm a lot more connected with people because I'm just around people who are so different than me. So I feel like I won't say everything. I can't say one thing. I think it's just everything about the history, the people, the food, especially the food. I've been here 5 years, and I can say I've traveled north, south, east, west, but I feel like I've seen nothing. I know nothing about this country, but I feel like I'm always discovering something new.
What's your favorite Chinese food?
Hot pot, 火锅. 我最喜欢火锅. I love hot pot. It's so good. but not Beijing hot pot. I like Sichuan hot pot, or what else I like? I like dumplings. I like dongbei. I like dongbei food. Lanzhou Lamian, of course, classic. Rojia Mo. What else?
What should I try?
You should try everything. Just walk around. Just try it all. Dumplings, rice, baozi. And everywhere, go and eat it. And if it's in Family Mart, eat it. It's not, everything's safe. What else would I say? The dumplings go crazy. Go crazy on the dumplings. Yeah, I'll say that. What do I like the least about living in China? The crowds. When they say there's 1.4, 1.6 billion people in this country, it's an understatement. It's so many people here. So there are pros to it because there's always services and businesses that are accommodating such a large population, but you have to really deal with a large population. Like when the sun cracks open, the people are going, you know. It's a lot of hustle and bustle, construction, cars. The trains and buses are always crowded. It's so crowded. But I think it's like a double-edged sword, because I can order things because there's always people to do the work, but also it's always crowded because you're dealing with so many people. So I think the crowds are my least favorite thing about being here, especially during traveling, Chinese New Year, October holiday. It's just never enough space, and it's always like a rush for everything.
What's the best life advice you've received in your life overall?
Best life advice? Ooh. If not now, when? I think when I was in undergrad, it really kind of, I want to say it was like one thing is I regret is I didn't study abroad, and I feel like China helped me scratch that off my bucket list. And since then, it's like, if not now, when? You know, if I never would have left the States, or if I never would have traveled abroad, then when it would happen. I think a lot of people spend their whole lives waiting to live. And I think if you just do it now, then you can worry about the effects later.
What has your experience been as a black man residing in China?
Interesting. What has my experience been as a black man in China? It's more, I wouldn't say it's changed, but it's become a lot more. How can I answer this question? When I first got here, the stares were very noticeable. People stare. But after, I think 6 months, 8 months, you become numb to the stares. But when you travel out to like these tier 2, tier 1, these tier 3 cities, where it's like Yunnan, or if you go somewhere like, I don't know, like Zhongshan, or somewhere where it's like barely any foreigners, the stares are very noticeable. At the same time, I look at it as an educating moment, because some people look at you and they might say, where are you from? You know, they're like, I'll say the US. They'll be like, no, but where are you from? You know, they don't even, the idea that someone who isn't the ideal American can be from America. But I would say overall, my experience in China has been, hate to say, sad to say, better than in the States. Because I feel like I'm not ignorant to the world we live in. You know, there's no place in the world where I can outrun my blackness. But I feel like being in China, my person is never in danger. There are ignorant people everywhere. There are curious people everywhere. There are just, neutral people everywhere. But I feel like I've never been physically in danger because of how I look. But most of the time, it's really like living in any other city, especially in Shanghai. Some people don't like you. Some people don't care. Some people are interested and curious. They want to talk to you. They want to learn more, like, where are you from? Or some people just want to practice their English, and they just see you and they just instantly think, I can talk to you. So I think I'm like a walking contradiction in some degrees.
What do you think is the general attitude towards black people here?
I want to say the general attitude is, I want to say, just lack of education. I think mainstream media around the world portrays, I want to say us. I would say over here is you're athletic, you're strong, and you dance, and you can sing. I think those are the stereotypes that make over here. But I would say as I've been here and the years have progressed, I've noticed I've noticed the attitude has changed. Most people say, like, what do you do for work? And I think it's not necessarily you being black, but you as a foreigner, and they just automatically assume like maybe you're a teacher or you're a student, but also from a degree that they're like, what do you do here? And I think the more you speak to people, the more they're, like you say, they reach the epitome or epiphany themselves, like, oh, you do other stuff. So I think I think I'm just always educating people about just who I am.
All right. What's the funniest thing that happened to you as a black person in China? Funny stories.
Funny stories. When you go to the Bund, which is Shanghai, it's like one of the most tourist heavy spots. When I first got here my first year, this group of people came up to me, gave me their baby, and took a picture of me holding their baby. Strangers. Now, I don't know about you, but that is just a no-no. You're giving a stranger your baby. But these people weren't threatened, they were just so excited to see you. I think also I went to like a small town, and like these little kids looked at me, and they looked at me, and I looked at them, and they just yelled, Obama. And then what else has happened? I was on a train, I think going to like Wuxi, and some people were looking at me, and I looked at them back, and they're just like, I like Jay-Z. And so it's just small moments like this, but I find them funny. I kind of look at like, this is your world, I'm happy to be here, but it's also like these things happen all the time. I had a barber, he left, but when I have a barber, they just cut it for me. But there is a black barber group. There's probably like 100 people in it in Shanghai. So there are like black barbers here. So don't look at me as an example. This is just, I have someone do it for me. But if you're black with like waves or dreads or something like that, there is something for you here. There are people from everywhere, from the Caribbean, South Africa, West Africa, the States, Canada, people who do hair for black people specifically. So if you are here like, oh, who's gonna cut my hair? But it's people here, they got the liners, they got the hair, they got all of it. So don't even worry about it.
So how can someone get in touch with those people?
Group chats. We live and breathe group chats here. Like, you don't have the Facebooks or the Instagrams, we have group chats. If you wanna find something, there's a group chat for every niche or interest you have.
On WeChat, right?
WeChat.
All right.
Live and breathe.
In what ways does China differ from your home country? What's the main sticking point that sticks out in terms of difference?
The main difference between here, I would say, in the US is that China is very homogenous. Where I'm from, there are black people, white people, Chinese people, Korean people, Mexicans, Middle Easterns. But here, everyone's Chinese. And it's just such a noticeable thing. But also it just, even though most people look alike, the more you're here, you're able to identify like, they're all different. Different personalities, different regions. So like Northerners act way different than Shanghai people. Like Shanghai people act way different than like people from the West. Or how can you say, like, if I'll say back in the States, people from the city act way different than people from like the suburbs, or people from like the Northeast or the Midwest. And I would say here, though people look the same, they definitely have different personalities just based on where they're from. But just seeing so many people who look very similar was just the biggest difference.
If you could change one thing in the world, what would it be?
If I could change anything in the world, I would ask for world peace. I would ask for world peace.
Who's one person, dead or alive, that you'd like to have dinner with, and why?
James Baldwin, because he left and never came back. He moved to France, he moved to Europe and never came back to the States. And just to speak with someone and say like, what prompted that decision? How did that change your projection? You're still James Baldwin. I think that would be a great conversation for coffee.
What's your proudest accomplishment to date?
Right now, my most happiest or my most recent accomplishment would be fitness, because this is new. The fitness journey is new for me, but it's something that I actually felt like it wasn't, at one point it was just necessary to be healthier. But now I've actually discovered like a new passion, and it's something I enjoy sharing with other people. So it's actually changed my whole trajectory as far as my career, my outlook, what I want to do with the rest of my life. So I would say physical fitness.
All right. What's the biggest lesson you've learned in life?
Biggest lesson is don't live with regrets. No, I want to say don't live with regrets. Don't live with indecisiveness. It's whether you make the wrong decision than no decision at all. Because at least with the wrong decision, you can learn from it, as opposed to just not making a decision and wondering what if. So I would say that's it.
Right. What's your earliest memory?
Earliest memory is I was living at my grandma's house with my mother. And if you live where I live, my grandmother's house upstairs, and the second bedroom, there's a back room. And I was a baby in this room, and I was crying, and my mother came and picked me up. Earliest memory.
If the world was listening, what's one message you would share?
Tell someone you love them today. Tell someone you love them today.
What's one thing that China does really well that the world can learn from?
Convenience. Convenience is one thing that China does that everyone needs to catch up. WeChat and Alipay, catch up, world, please. Why are we still using cash or debit cards? You're behind decades. Just get it together.
What's your favorite place in China? Some like a must visit, in your opinion?
Ooh. My favorite place is right now is Wudinglu, Yanpinglu. If you live in Shanghai, you know where this is. That's my favorite place right now. And if you want to come to visit, just get in the cab and say, take me to Wudinglu, Yanpinglu, and just let the rest happen.
Okay, we leave it at that.
Just leave it there.
What's dating like in China?
Amazing. Dating in China is interesting, but I think there's a misconception. How can I put this? One, dating around the world sucks. It's just, dating sucks. It's stupid, it's tiring, it's exhausting. No matter where you're from, home country, new country, school, university, work, dating sucks, it's hard. Dating in China, I think, is just as difficult, challenging, rewarding. It's just that there's so many people that it's scaled. So if you're dating so many people, let's say in Chicago, which has like 3 million people, 4 million people, 5 million people, metro. If you're in Shanghai, it's 25 million people. Scale that, whatever your dating thing is. So you're gonna have just as many heartbreaks, just as many hookups, just as many, breakups and whatever. It's just scaled.
But as a black person,
it's just, I can't say it's good or bad. I think it's just people like what they like. I feel like in the States, you live in, it's a predominantly white culture, but there's still people who like you because you're black, people who don't like you because you're black, people who are just open to the idea. So I think here's the same thing. It's just, it's mainly Chinese people, but there are plenty of Europeans, Africans, North Americans, people from the Caribbean, East Asia, Southeast Asia, who are dating. So for me, I think it's exciting. I think it's very exciting. It's just that because Shanghai is such a transit city, for you to really think you're going to get something long term, it's just unrealistic or a very challenging task. Not saying it doesn't happen. I meet plenty of people who get married here, but because it's so transit, so many people come and go, whether they're local or foreigner, that most things you're aiming for are going to be short term, give or take.
How's your Chinese?
我的中文，我觉得我的中文不好，是每天是我学习，但是在我的工作是每个人说普通话，那普通话，英文或者法语，所以my Chinese is okay, but my French is getting better. So I'm learning French indirectly. I just said my Chinese is okay, I study it, but at my work, most people speak French and English. So indirectly, I'm learning more French than Chinese.
What's a common misconception about China?
That people here live in huts, and people live here like they're 50 years behind. But I think that's the case for any country, right? You have the wealth disparity, the wealth gap. I think if you come to Shanghai, you'll be like, oh, this is the future, from the infrastructure to the buildings to the technology that's just constantly being rolled out. But I just think that on a global scale, and I want to say the global game, the global game or whatever you want to call it, China is like, has always been a player, but now they're a big player. So I think that it's just constantly now being revealed more and more and more about what's actually happening here. But I think that there's a huge misconception that we don't have a similar quality of life as Western nations. But I honestly can say that my quality of life in Shanghai is tenfold better than when I was living in the States.
Any advice for Black people looking to visit or work or study here?
Come now. Any advice for Black people coming to China? Come now. Just buy the ticket. Just get on the plane and just come right now, because it's not as bad as you think it is. It's not as bad as you think it is, and it's probably a lot more fun than you expect it to be. There's more opportunity here. Not necessarily saying there's less opportunity where you're from, but there's opportunity here that is just open opportunity. I think for Black people who want to just travel around the world, I think China, just East Asia in general, it's, I don't want to say it's a fair shot, but you get a fair shot at opportunity. It's a fair shot, and I think that's just what most people want. So I would say just buy the ticket now, get on TripAdvisor or Expedia, whatever you're doing, just buy the ticket, pay the $1,000, 800 euro, 700 pounds, just get on the plane, go to the cities. I'm not a big fan of the tier 2 cities or tier 3 cities, even though there are like 4 or 5 million people in each of those. But I would just say come to Shanghai, go to Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and just live a little bit.
I think someone said something about a mass exodus of foreigners from Shanghai, out of Shanghai. Is that true? Or?
I won't say it's a mass exodus, but I just think that with any developing economy or anything that matures, certain things happen. I think that cost of living, inflation is kicking in, so you're no longer saving as much money as you maybe were 10 years ago. Housing is going up, inflation, these things happen. It's just a matter of economics. The requirements to come to work here are becoming higher, so they're trying to, how can you say, sort out or encourage a higher tier of foreigner, I would say, expat. But I won't say there's a mass exodus. I mean, there's about 1 million foreigners in China. That's just not a lot of people in general. There's like 250,000 in Shanghai, 330,000, 350,000 in Guangdong province, 150,000 in Beijing, and scattered the rest. It sounds like a lot of people, but it's really not. We're literally a grain of sand on the beach. So I won't say there's a mass exodus, because there's never really a lot of us anyway.
Is there something that you do really well that most people don't know about, like a secret superpower?
I'm really good at organizing parties. I'm really good at organizing events. If you know who I am, you know this, but I think out here it's starting to come out. It's something I really enjoy doing. So I'm all about organizing events. I would say share, drink more water, live more often, love more frequently, forgive daily, and try to exercise 3 times a week. Just try to do it. Health is wealth.
Any advice for people that are trying to learn Chinese? Remember?
Never stop. Your Chinese is never going to be good unless you've been here forever, and that's the truth. My Chinese is, but I can speak or whatever. I think it's one of those things. It's like a sport. You have to just constantly work at it. Even the greatest, I think, people I meet who've been here 10 years, 12 years, even they speak fluent Chinese, but if you speak to a native or someone local, they're able to distinguish the difference. So I think it's like a sport, like you have just to constantly work at it. Do the university programs and just do the 20 hours a week, the 30 hours a week. Just do those. Just do it for at least a year and a half. Just do it. And then once you learn the basics of how to actually learn it, learn the difference between the tones, then you can get like that one-on-one tutoring. but you just gotta put the classroom hours is where it's at. You have to just do the classroom. You gotta do it for at least 2, 3, 4 semesters. It's safe. I think if for people who come to China don't know anything about it right now, it is safe. Like, safe. And I think this is someone coming from the States. Being a black man, this place is safe. I've never felt like my person was in danger. You know, I think the biggest crimes that happen to me are like petty crime, maybe a pickpocket here. But it's safe. And this is not just me, but even for like my female friends, they never feel like walking home at 5 in the morning is a danger to them, especially in the bigger cities. Now, smaller cities I can't really attest to, but I've never felt more safe in my life. Online, you can find me on IG, DeShawn was here, or my YouTube, Fit Budgets.
I'm gonna start very slow. This is a process that I have invented many years ago. It's basically, I call it the 7S process. We do not use any more of those circulating pattern because we have a scientific background rather than just make it fancy. And the scientific background is based on physics and chemistry. Inside the coffee, we know already exists over 300 types of chemical elements in there. The oil comes from this, not from inside the juice. It comes from the shell of the cell wall because this is part of the wood. So now this is why people call it over extraction. So if you really over extract it, then the flavor of this type of coffee is going to go. Why? Because they use constant water. Constant temperature water actually says like a walnut. Okay, I'm finishing my walnut. The walnut shelf is actually very bitter. But if you put that walnut shelf into a hot water, boil it for another 10 minutes, it's guaranteed the water is going to come out so incredible bitter. But if your water drops down to temperature now, you don't have that problem because we're not boiling it. Okay, so now we're waiting for this thing to go down a little bit longer, and I'm also waiting for the temperature. Now the temperature is already dropping to close almost 80 degrees. We started with a 96. Now we're going to let down and we're just going to wait. So before you start drinking this, we also need to clarify certain things. Good quality coffee has to give it enough time to let it oxidize. Why? Because if the tree is old enough, let's say 50, 45 years old, the tree has been penetrating the ground for all that time. Deep roots that travels maybe 10 meters across or so on and so forth. Guaranteed that it has been absorbing so much more minerals and richness from the underground. And those minerals is the same effect such as a bottle of red wine. When we open a good fine wine, we do not drink it right away, right? We let it sit there for a little while. Sometimes we shake it into the decanter or oxidize it. Why? Because those minerals requires time to reach its full body. A good cup of coffee is the same thing. So do not gobble it up in 2 seconds. You'll be wasting this. You wait until the oxidation process starts taking on top of your coffee. The proper way to drink this while I'm waiting for this is this. Have your cup of coffee held in your hand, cover the majority part of the coffee top surface, leaving only a small hole so your nose can stick in. You want to smell that. Why? Quite simple. When we catch cold, our food has no flavor because you are basically tasting tasteless food because your nose doesn't smell. The sense of smell and the sense of taste is connected. So after you smell a few times, that sense is going to tell your brain, oh my God, I'm about to drink something really good. So the anticipation is going to make you really, oh, wow. The saliva start coming out and you're getting hungry and so on and so forth. So the first sip, if you can, allow enough air going into your mouth, combining with the coffee, not big gulp, because you want more air in, a little bit coffee in, to have a secondary oxidation process. The first stage is right now, we're waiting, giving enough time for the coffee to get basically oxidized. And then the second is you sip it like this. Okay, that's the secondary process. You rinse it, you give enough oxygen to the coffee, you let the coffee oxidize one step more. And then after that, you open your mouth for the third time oxidation. Open your mouth, don't close it. Now you feel all the oxygen is now getting on top of your tongue and start oxidizing all the mineral left on top of your tongue, giving you additional sweetness. And now that's the right way. And then after that, you put down your cup, especially between the first 3 sips, 2 minutes or 3 minutes apart. A cup usually is about 10 minutes or so. 2 cups are about 15 to 20. That's if done right. I mean, this is a premium class #1 for Blue Mountain. You know, the famous Jamaica. We take no time or no corners to cut it down because you do not want to do that. Because all the minerals in here are so rich that if I do with the machine, I'd be wasting close to 50% of the flavor out of the coffee. Because I don't have enough water temperature to let it down. I mean, if you keep looking, right now I'm down to 75 degrees. We started with 96 degrees. But that's what Blue Mountain is famous for. It has a lot of fine flavors underneath. And if you drink slowly, it should give you that beautiful, almost like a perfume flavor inside your mouth. And you will see that differently. Yeah.
Okay.
Cover it up.
Cover it up.
Yeah, enjoy the aroma. And that aroma's gonna wake up to your brain and tell you, wait a second,
Okay.
that's good stuff. Yeah. Smells good.
Yeah, it smells like I want to start my day.
Yes. Now, open your mouth. Get ready. Why are we doing all the stupid noises? It's quite simple.
Because we live in China.
No, not just because that. Because our taste buds usually are in formation of a stick woods like that, and they sit inside a sac, and that sac is within our tongue surface, flat. Okay, so when you try to compress it, your tongue goes to the upper palate and compress this taste buds open. It forces this bag open, and the coffee or whatever you're drinking is going to go in there. Once you start pressing it, the taste buds will deform, and these nerve endings of the taste buds will actually open up and creating so much more surface that will actually become sensible area. And that sensitivity is going to increase, I don't know how many folds. So that's why as a kid, if you remember, when we start eating food, we always do, makes food tastes much better with noises. It's because everything we taste food, we compress the taste buds and allowing extra surface to sense the food, and therefore it's much more richer. And also some of the food which may contain minerals now start to oxidize. It's the same principle of waiting for the wine to wake up to reach its full potential. So a good coffee should be like that as well. So you had a first cup already. How do you like it?
I enjoy it.
Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to share your story or have us visit your region, send us a message on any of our social media platforms or via our website.
That's good.